I don't listen to realistic people because they put limits to what's real. Realistic people put limits to what is real. And those limits stop at what you can physically see and physically feel and touch. Sorry for background noise, my cat is playing with his toy, so that's that. Let me say it one more time. I don't listen to realistic people because they put limits to what is real. And those limits stop at what you can physically see and what you can physically touch. Physically see like what's in front of you, but also in terms of predictability. They like predictability. They don't like uncertainty. When you're someone who is more idealistic and visionary, you are most likely someone who can work beyond the 3D. I consider myself idealistic and visionary, and every time I've tried to be realistic and practical, I felt like I was shrinking myself and limiting myself to all the possible outcomes. So like I said, you may probably work past the 3D. And a lot of people who are very stuck in the 3D are going to project that onto you, right? You're gonna say that's not realistic, that's not practical, that's good luck with that. It's like when I'm scrolling on social media, let's say TikTok, and someone is sharing their experience, you know, building their life, following their dreams, running on faith and manifestation, right? They're saying, oh, I'm building this and that, and I don't have a stable job, I'm not employed, I don't work for someone. And then there's people in the comments that are gonna say, well, that's not stable, that's not realistic, you can still build the life you want while having a job. Like, your job and stability needs to be the main thing, and then you build on the side, right? There's always like those kind of people, and that kind of mentality is just fear-based. Those kinds of people are so like deeply programmed into, you know, what environment, society wants them to be like, to limit themselves, and they project that onto you, right? Everyone is projecting what is in here. When you realize that life is a mirror, everyone is projecting what is in here. And a lot of the times what is in here isn't even their own thinking, their own beliefs. It's stuff that they have been programmed to since a very young age, and they haven't deprogrammed that. And if you are someone who has, you know, done the deprogramming and connecting with yourself, and if you have, you know, psychic abilities, like, there are a lot of people who are just going to project their limiting beliefs on you. And the thing is, like, right, realistic people put a limit onto what's real. They, like, if they cannot physically see it or feel it, it's like, it's a very foreign concept to them. They might even say that's not real, that doesn't exist, that's not true, but that isn't true. The best example I can give to this is paranormal activity, right? Paranormal activity, you can't really explain why and how. Paranormal activity, you can't scientifically explain it, you can't put like a natural meaning to it, but it happens, it occurs. Some people experience certain things, others don't. Some people see things that others cannot. We don't know why. We don't know how, but it happens and it occurs. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. And not all energy is manifested into something physical and concrete and that we can, you know, touch, right? Energy is all around us. Even when you can't see it, it's around us. If you are someone who's very intuitive, you will feel it and you will see things that others cannot. And that doesn't invalidate what you know. It doesn't mean, oh, it doesn't exist, it's not real, okay? Everything around us is real. Everything around us is real. It's either real or nothing is real. But people pick and choose. Realistic people pick and choose what is real. You know, they're so programmed, so caged in their minds, and they see people, when someone is in front of them that is not caged in their own mind, they're gonna try to, you know, they're gonna project you and poison you with their words so that you can shrink yourself and limit yourself and cage yourself back in your mind. But honestly, you know what? Once you've broken free, completely free, you cannot cage yourself again. This is why it is so important that when you are deprogramming, resetting, that when it comes to language, you know what you're talking about. You put your own definitions to things, right? Like, what does stability mean to you? Your definition and picture vision of stability is not going to look the same as everybody else. A lot of people's stability is just like financial and material. And for you, yes, finance and materials are important, but what about like emotional stability? Regulate your nervous system. Mental stability, right? The things that we cannot physically see, touch, they're not materials. They're not materials. They're in here, and you have to embody it. Right? What does stability mean to you? What does success mean to you? What does freedom mean to you? What does work mean to you? Every time I try to be realistic and practical, I've always felt like I was shrinking myself, limiting myself, going against myself, going against my soul. And when your soul has a specific calling, or it's you're in an environment or molding yourself to be someone that you are not, your soul is going to cry and scream. It's going to cry and scream. And some people are more in tune with it. They just, oh, like, this is not for me. But if you're not one of those people, it's definitely going to show in your body in some way, whether it's like a mental health, mental illness, whether it's like a physical illness, diseases, autoimmune diseases. It's going to show. If you are someone who knows that there is more for you in this life, and you are actively trying to, get to that life, and you are running on intuition and faith in yourself and manifestation and finding aligned action, you get to that long middle that feels like everything is stagnant, that you've lost all your momentum when really there are things happening in the background preparing you for your major breakthrough, preparing for your quantum leap that you just can't see, right? Like that long middle, because the middle feels so stagnant, the middle feels so linear, and you're like, nothing's changing, but really there's things happening in the background. That middle part is the part that's gonna have you, when the doubts come in, you kind of lose your confidence, and maybe you share that on the internet, and then all the realists are gonna come and say, well, what do you're just doing wishful thinking and blah blah blah. Remember, they don't see your vision. They're not living your life. They're not in your headspace the same that you aren't in theirs. And don't listen to people who will project these realist ideas when really they're just limiting you. It's just limiting beliefs that they had confined themselves into. Like, if you are someone who's very intuitive, very psychic, you see things, you know things that other people do not. They cannot. And that doesn't make you crazy. That doesn't make you crazy. That doesn't make you psychotic. Like, you can work through the unseen, through the uncertain, in the void. People who like predictability are gonna look at you like you're crazy. People who don't like uncertainty, who don't like the unseen, they're gonna look at you like you're crazy, and they're gonna project that onto you like, no, you're crazy, you're not being realistic. Speak for yourself. I want you to remember this. Realistic people put limits onto what is real. Does that even make sense? Put limits onto what is real. Everything around you is real. Everything around you is energy. Realistic people put limits to what is real. I want you to think about that. Actually, I had a little bit more to say. If you are somebody who, you know, like I said, it's idealistic, visionary, you've got some psychic abilities, you can work past the 3D, you can work with the void, you can work with the unseen, the uncertainty. If you are that kind of person and you share it online maybe, and you know, maybe your external reality hasn't caught up with you, that's when people project onto you. That's when people project onto you, because they can't physically see what you are embodying or what you are on the way to embodying. There's a saying, follow your plan, not your mood. Now, you know, that works for a lot of people. That works for a lot of people, and as someone who's very intuitive, feelings are messengers. Feelings are messengers. Feelings actually can guide us because our feelings are connected to our intuition. And your intuition is just like this deep knowing. Your intuition is a mixture of feeling and thinking. So when you follow your plan and not your mood, when you follow your plan and not your feelings, like if you're an intuitive person, like you just put yourself at risk to misalignment. I am someone who does follow my mood. I am someone who does listen to my feelings, because there was a time when I didn't, and I didn't for a long time. And also, and every time I've tried to create a plan, the universe literally tore it apart and said, that's not where I'm going. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing. Editing me here, hello. I really want to emphasize this is my experience. A lot of the times when I have created a plan, the universe has just struck it down, tore it apart, and said, absolutely not. This is not where you're going. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. Like, obviously it's okay to have a plan. It's okay to have a vision, but when you have a certain idea of how things are supposed to go, how you're supposed to get to your vision, how you're supposed to get to your end goal, that is where you might be met with some kind of external resistance. For me personally, and for a lot of you watching, perhaps change is the only constant in your life. And a lot of it is out of your control. I mean, nothing is really in your control except yourself. A lot of times in the past when I have tried to make a plan, of my future goal and stuff, the universe has torn it apart because it's not really what I want. It's stuff that I've been programmed to want. Illusions. The rose-colored glasses. You know who you are. It's just how well can you block out the voices? How well can you block out the voices of the programming, the limiting beliefs, the boxing, the labeling? How well can you hold your vision? So if you're someone who's intuitive, you might want to redefine what it means to be realistic. Because a lot of these realistic people, they put limits to what is real. I really want you to think about that, because I fully believe everything around us is real. Everything around us is real. Everything around me is energy, and it's real. You shouldn't have to shrink yourself and limit yourself to be realistic when the life that you want is so abundant that there are no limits. Everything is expandable. If you want a life of abundance and expansion, why are you shrinking and limiting yourself? Okay, I think I've gotten everything out, but I really want you to think about that. Realistic people put limits to what is real.